Okay, so this is the inside of the 4F50N Ford transmission, the backside underneath the channel plate and the valve body. This is the chain that drives the front pump or the that's attached to the input shaft and the sprocket and turns the differential of the case. So in this unit, this is in a 2004 Ford Freestar with a 4.2 liter V6. It came in, customer had a couple of different complaints. One was that it had something unrelated to the transmission, a power draining problem. But I don't think he mentioned this problem. I was driving it one day and I was getting up on the interstate, and as I got up on the interstate, I heard something go chunk, 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 chunk. And I was trying to figure out what that sound was. It didn't do it again, but I noticed under hard acceleration was the only time I would experience it. So I just kind of I drove it for a few days, trying to get it to duplicate it. It didn't really duplicate it unless you got down on it kind of hard. So I noticed that would be the only time it would happen. So I kept trying to figure out what sound was, and eventually I drew the conclusion. I said, it must be the chain inside of the transmission, because I forgot that these are chain driven from the input shaft down to the differential. And so I just kind of kept thinking about it. I was like, that's the only thing it can be. So I went to a transmission shop, local transmission parts supply in Jacksonville. I was speaking to one of the gentlemen there, and asked him if they had the chains inside of the transmissions for the 2004 Ford Freestar. He said, oh yeah, we sell plenty of them. I was like, really? I said, yeah, I got one, and I think this was wrong. He said, yeah, what they do is they basically just stretch and they start chattering inside, and that's really what the problem is. So, or that's what the biggest problem they have with them. In 2005, they corrected that problem. I don't know how, but they don't have the problem as much. They don't sell them for the 2005s as much. So whatever Ford did, they fixed the problem. And nevertheless, I wanted to show why this is doing what it's doing. You can't really tell when you look at the chain just by looking at it, unless you know exactly what you're looking at. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the amount of slack that's in this chain by picking up on it. Bottom. Same thing happens with a bicycle chain or a motorcycle chain. So if you notice here, I'm going to pick up on this chain. Notice how much slack it has in it. So notice how it tightens up across the top and how much slack we have in this chain. So what happens is under hard acceleration, when the engine is spinning this side of, because this is attached directly to the torque converter, the input shaft. This is the input shaft. The input shaft is here, and the sprocket that's attached to it is here. So as that torque converter is spinning, it will, once it gets to its breakaway point, it will turn this chain, which will turn the drive in, and or the differential, which in turn will, this is one of your output shafts. This is for the left side of the vehicle, and the other one is for, it goes all the way through the differential over there and out the other side, and that's for the passenger side. So what happens is when it turns this, these gears or this chain has to match with the sprockets in there. What happens is with this much slack, when it's spinning, it won't do it now because the vehicle, it's free spinning. But just imagine it's sitting on the ground, and but if you notice, look how much slack is in the bottom of this chain. So when it's sitting on the ground and the tires are sitting on the ground, it'll just skip on this sprocket here, on the differential sprocket, and it'll cause it to jump and chatter and make all kinds of sound. This had gotten so bad that when you took it from park to reverse, it would chatter, jump, 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 jump. The chain would just jump. And then if you put it in drive, just sitting still, it would jump, 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 jump. And it was really bad. It had gotten that bad. In a matter of about a week, it had gotten that bad. So at any rate, this is the biggest problem with this. This transmission actually looks really good inside. I was afraid that these, the gears or the sprockets would be damaged, but they don't appear to have any damage, which is a really good thing. I was really concerned about that. I was concerned about metal shavings in the transmission. We have none of that. That's a really good sign. I couldn't be happier with what I found tearing this apart. I mean, this is really probably more of a testament to the customer and how well he takes care of the vehicle. He stays on top of it with regular service. This transmission is in excellent shape. I don't even have to go into the differential. I was concerned about a few things there. There's no concerns. This thing is buttoned up. I mean, this is jam tight. I think this is in excellent shape. He did complain about torque converter shutter. The only true fix to that is in the valve body. So I'm gonna look at a few pieces inside of it while I have it torn apart, see whether or not there's any damage or wear to the torque converter clutch circuit, the torque converter lockup circuit, that is, I'm sorry, and see if there's anything I can see in there. And if I do, then I'll attempt to fix it tonight, and hopefully if it doesn't need any extensive reaming, or it doesn't need any reaming period, I think that we may be able to fix most of this problem without having to disassemble the entire valve body. So again, the biggest problem that it came in with would render it impossible to drive is this chain in the back of the transmission. So here we are, and we're gonna go ahead and take this out. The way that you do that is you basically pull this sprocket out for the input shaft. I don't know if this has probably has some type of locking pin or something, not pin, but clip inside of it. We're gonna see if we can get this out. We're probably not gonna be able to get that out much. Not you have to pull it out straight. So you have to pull both of those off, I'm sure of it. So I don't have help with holding the camera, so I may have to put the camera down to change this. But that's pretty much it. That's what we have to do here. Really simple drive unit here on the back. It's not easy to get out of the vehicle. We pulled it out from the top. Really tight, extremely tight to pull out. There's the engine. A lot of little things you have to take off. You have to remove the master cylinder. I did not take the lines off because I didn't want to bleed the brakes, but it was tight. I mean, very, very, very tight. But it was possible to get it out. We did so also without removing the compressor. I've been doing this for about probably over 25 years, probably about 27 years or so. And in my years of doing this, one thing my dad taught me many years ago is how to remove an engine without disconnecting or removing the AC compressor. You never know if they're charged, and so if you don't have the ability to recharge them, or you just don't want to recharge them, leave it attached. And that's what we did here. We left the compressor in the vehicle attached because it's a system within itself. So what we do is we just disconnect it from the engine, leave it sitting in the vehicle. Same thing with the power steering. I don't want power steering fluid all over the place. It seems to be unavoidable in all the 27 years that I've known is to get all of the coolant out of an engine. So even if you get it out of the radiator, you always got some in the engine, so some's going to spill. So I said, what I probably need to do is invest in these little red caps to cap off all the big holes. You know, they're different sorted sizes to cap off water pump openings and other bypass hose openings, because this is what happens. You have coolant all over the floor. So that's pretty much unavoidable until I invest in the little caps and stuff to cap off everything. But again, it's possible to remove it from the top without having to remove the entire K-member, which I really didn't want to do. I've had an experience with a Ford many years ago that I've not forgotten. And the long and short of it was, I was putting a transmission in probably a 94, 95 Mercury Sable. And when I put it in, when I took it out, apparently I took the K member out of the car, which is the lower frame that mounts to the unibody, to the body of the truck. So I dropped that out, dropped the transmission, and I had the engine just hanging on the engine puller, much like that, on the engine hoist, much like this. But it was hanging over in here in the engine bay. And my phone was ringing one day, and for anyone who knows me, I don't like talking on the phone. I like talking on the phone to the extent of the business that we're going to handle, and then I'll see you in person. So it's to schedule meeting, getting together. That's the extent that I enjoy talking on the phone. So I'm underneath the vehicle, putting the transmission in after I've gotten it back, and the phone rings, and I'm just like, who is this? So I just keep working. Phone rings again. I keep working. So it goes through its whole ring cycle. Second time, third time it rings. I'm like, man, who is this? So I come from underneath the car, and I pick up the phone. I'm like, hello. I saw who it was, and I wasn't angry, just a tad bit agitated. Hey, what's going on? He said, hey, I was just calling to see how you're doing. And I was thinking, call to see how I was doing. Just a split second that thought came to my second. And as soon as I thought that, I heard something say, bam! And when it did, I turned around, the car had fallen on the ground. And my attitude and viewpoint changed immediately, because I felt like that phone call saved my life, and it indeed did. As a matter of fact, just about a month before that, no, not even a month before that, within that month, 3 people had died from cars falling on them. One was a then friend of mine. His ex-wife's husband was working on a car, and it fell on top of him and killed him. There was one that happened over on Edgewood near Kings Road. Car fell on a guy, and there was one somewhere else. And these 2 of those 3 incidents made the news. So I avoided it. So I have honestly now, even at this age, I have a real big issue with crawling underneath a Ford anything. So I did it a little bit differently this time. Not only did I put the jack stands underneath because we don't have a lift, I put the tires underneath and put a 4x4 underneath there, which only gives me about that much room, distance between top. But if it failed, it would fall on top of there. I did the same thing on the driver's side. And as you can see, just because I don't want this falling on me. I'm in here by myself. I wouldn't be able to pick this up off of me. And it'd be a lot of cleanup for somebody. So at any rate, we try to be as safe as possible. The time now is about a few minutes after 10, about 10, 15 minutes after 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and start snatching this chain out and putting the new one in. We've already got a box full of goodies from our transmission supplier. We don't give that information, but they're good people. They've been around for longer than I've been, I think longer than I've been alive. And these guys are really good. So I'm just looking at a few things that I noticed when I was taking this apart. I don't think they gave me everything. The guy who helped me fulfill this order, he's the freshman of the group. The experienced senior, he wasn't there to help me the day that I actually went and picked up the parts. He was only there the day that I came in and inquired about how much the parts cost and whether they were available or not, readily available. So at any rate, here's my new chain. Here is my new channel plate gasket. Okay, and here are rather, my valve body gaskets. So there's a few things that I don't think we're going to have to replace. I think they're molded rubber in the back of this channel plate. So I don't think we'll have to, yeah, that's rubber. So I don't think we'll have to worry about that much. Okay, yeah, that's rubber. So we won't have to worry about that much. The springs, I'll put a little bit of transmission assembly gel on the back of these. And the purpose will be for them to sit in there when I pick this channel plate up, because I won't tilt the transmission forward to do it. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning up a little bit here and getting this thing ready to put back together. Looks pretty clean down, and looking down on these little the circuits here is what I'll call them. To see, there's a little dirt and smudge down there. I don't know what that's all about, but we'll get it straightened out before we put it back together. Everything else in here is as clean as it gets for an automatic transmission. I mean, this is what you hope to see. You don't hope to see the transmission fluid. Look how it's not bright red, but it's not dark brown or black or gray or black. So this is really good. This is, again, testament to how well the customer takes care of the vehicle. I will commend him when I take this back to him. And again, we're just gonna go ahead and get started with what we need to do so we can get this thing back together. We're gonna change the rear main seal too. I forgot about that. I bought a rear main seal earlier. We use the best for aftermarket. The truth of the matter is, some of these parts Ford doesn't make. They outsource their gasket making to other companies. They put them in a Ford package. For example, the seal that actually comes in this engine is from a company called National. As a matter of fact, when I take this one out, I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I think it's going to be a National seal. And National is a OE supplier. So they provide a lot of gaskets and seals for every manufacturer, especially in America. So my guess is it's going to have a National seal in it. And as a matter of fact, I actually had a choice in purchasing a National seal, but it wasn't in stock. And I think it was, I want to say that it was a few dollars cheaper than the Felpro. So this particular seal here from Felpro is what they call the second design, the improved design. So I don't know what's improved about it, but we chose this one, and so we have very good results with Felpro. A lot of guys in racing use Felpro. They just make so many different types. This is they have a PTFE rubber seal, and then this is the second generation, the improved one. So you know, they are always constantly improving upon their designs, whether it be head gaskets, rear main seals, front cover seals, oil pan gaskets. They're always improving the technology, the design. If there's a new promising technology that they can offer, they definitely do. So that's why we choose Felpro. My dad told me Felpro years ago. I just did it, but as I became older and I started loving what I did beyond just what my dad told me, I learned why we use Felpro, and so I'm a believer. So at any rate, we're going to go ahead and end this video for now, and I'll come back and show you again what this chain looks like when we put it in, because it should not have this much slack. This chain is no good. I mean, I was afraid that it had hit, because it was jumping and chattering so bad. I was afraid that it had worn a groove in this body, in the case along the bottom here, but it hasn't. So I'm really happy about that. That was my biggest concern, or even in this channel plate, because that just would have been bad. But as you can see, it didn't wear any chain, any groove in it. Again, I'm ecstatic. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign out for now, and I'll come back and video this again to show what we come up with. Thank you for watching.